Hello, my name is Professor Ian Williamson, and I have the distinct privilege of serving as the Dean of the Palmer School of Business here at the University of California, Irvine. Welcome to another episode of the Dean's Thought Leader Series. Today we have with us an individual who can best be described as a parallel entrepreneur and a true advocate for new ventures, Mr. John Shin. Mr. Shin is the founder of American Lending Center, which has been identified as one of the most successful non-bank lenders in the United States, and indeed has been recognized by the Small Business Administration for the services it's provided to companies across the country, and has been identified as one of the top companies to work for multiple times by the Los Angeles Business Journal. In addition, he's the founder of Sunstone Management, which is an investment firm based here in Southern California. In his spare time, however, he still found other enterprises, having founded an enterprise in fintech, as well as most recently in the space of virtual kitchens. So this is an individual who has clearly been very innovative and has been a tremendous success story for us here in Southern California. And we're very proud to have him as part of the series. John, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ian.
It's really a pleasure to have you here. I think our audience will be very excited to hear about your experiences, both in your own entrepreneurial endeavors, but also the way in which you've been able to support entrepreneurship across the region here.
Yes.
John, the past year has been extraordinarily disruptive and dynamic. In that context, what advice or what are your thoughts about entrepreneurship, and what advice would you have for entrepreneurs to navigate this environment, both now and looking forward?
Yeah, in the past 18 months, this COVID thing has presented such an unprecedented challenge to entrepreneurs and business owners. I think it's the first time, at least in our generation, that we have to handle a global pandemic crisis that made everybody's life so difficult. I have a couple of advices for our entrepreneurs. Number one, always stay poised under pressure. And number two, never stop looking for new opportunities created by COVID. I think if you can do both well, you have a really good chance to not only survive, but thrive beautifully in this tough environment. In the last year, the interesting fact is COVID killed a lot of businesses, okay? And they killed a lot of businesses. It killed a lot of businesses when all these business owners mentally collapsed. Not when these businesses completely lost its cash flow. Why is that? It's because there's so much extra work that business owners have to take care of, during the pandemic. And there's a lot of things they have to learn, and they have to turn around and apply right away to their daily operation. And that's a lot of work, and there's a monumental mental challenge. We talk about the three different phases for a crisis response. We call that 3 R's: rescue, recover, and rebuild. It's a process. So in that process, you got to learn how to protect your employees' well-being. You got to learn how to motivate your employees during difficult times. You got to learn how to manage the return to the workplace. You got to learn how to change your strategies for the new normal. But the bottom line is you have to build resilience in your existing business model, and that's not easy. And there's a lot of, mental or emotional stress, anxiety, fear, frustration, anger you have to deal with. It's so easy to collapse.
What advice would you have for entrepreneurs about how to look for opportunities? What have you seen that works, or what do you yourself do in terms of where you begin to identify opportunities in these types of environments?
Well, speaking of seizing the new opportunities, I I would like to share the story of my firm, American Lending Center. And this is the first business I built. So American Lending Center is a non-bank private lender focused on small business lending. We're non-bank, so we don't have all the licenses that banks have. The cash flow of American Lending Center almost completely comes from the loan repayments made by the borrowers. And who are our borrowers? Pre-COVID, I think majority of our borrowers, I would say probably 70–80% of them, were either hotels or assisted living facilities. So as you can imagine, when COVID started, we were in trouble. Our cash flow got destroyed because all of these borrowers had trouble to make the payments. And it's worse because the federal government said, okay, we have to give all these borrowers 6 months and maybe longer grace period to let them recover. So you guys, the lenders, can't push. So there's no way for us to default them. So that created a pretty tough situation for lenders like us. I think July or maybe August last year was probably the worst. We lost up to 80% of our cash flow. So at that time, I really thought we were done. I really did. We were close. But fortunately, I was focused on looking for new opportunities. And one opportunity came out. And this is a lending program called Paycheck Protection Program. It's a lending program specifically designed to save the American small businesses. And it was passed through the CARES Act, I believe last March. So when the program came out, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. We had a chance. However, as a non-bank lender, we were not a shoe-in. There was a pretty difficult and time-consuming process for all the non-bank lenders to go through to get approval from the federal government to participate in that program. But because we were prepared, so we jumped in right away without any hesitation. I believe we were the first non-bank lender filing that application. So we did that in April, and took us a couple months. And finally, in June last year, we received an approval letter from SBA and the Department of Treasury. We were excited because, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And then we jumped in. We did everything we could. By the time this year, when the program expired, I think we finished in the top 1% of all of these PPP lenders in terms of the loan origination volume. So not only we survived, we made a history. We had a record year. So I think we're on track to make a lot of profit this year. Most likely we'll be able to achieve over 70% EBITDA this year. And that's more than 10 times of our pre-COVID EBITDA, I think back in 2019. Wow. So this was a miracle for me, for our business. But I think the main reason for our success, this past year, was because I kept looking for new opportunities created by the crisis. Yeah. And I think that's if entrepreneurs do that well, they will have a great chance to develop their business, maybe take their business to the next level.
So earlier I described you as a parallel entrepreneur. You've started multiple entities in a wide variety of sectors. So in that sense, very Elon Musk-like.
Thank you.
How have you been able to do that? How have you managed starting multiple ventures in different domains at the same time and managing them? What's your strategy or approach towards that?
Yeah, I think, Ian, parallel entrepreneurship is getting more and more popular. And thank you, Elon. It's a new concept, but there are more people trying to do exactly that. And I think if you have multiple smart ideas, um, if you're energetic enough, um, it's okay for you to develop or maintain multiple businesses, maybe in different sectors. I started American Lending Center, my first business, back in 2009, and I launched my second business, Sandstone Management, I think in 2015, and my third and fourth businesses in the last couple of years. So to start a series, I think the key is that you have to focus on your first business. You need to make sure that your first business has a strong cash flow. The business doesn't have to be super profitable, but a stable cash flow is the foundation that you can depend to build future businesses. And the other thing you want to put some thoughts together is that, how would you like to structure your second or any future businesses by leveraging the resources you already built in your first business? Apparently, the more help you get from your first business, the easier you can build your second or third businesses. So I think the focus should be on the people resources. By people resources, I mean, your business partners, your employees, your customers. How much of that can you transfer from your previous business to this new business? So there's a lot of thinking that the entrepreneur needs to have before they start a second business, and the timing is equally important. But I think, as I can tell, there will be a lot of entrepreneurs capable of building multiple businesses simultaneously. Yeah.
So you stated the importance of thinking about your people.
Right.
And I'm particularly thinking about the people that work with you, the employees that you work with. What has been your strategy for identifying and bringing on talent to help you in these multiple enterprises?
That's the challenge, Ian. I think the staffing strategies are probably the biggest difference between the startups and corporate America. The fact is, as a startup, you're not going to hire the top talents easily. Sometimes you can't afford them. Sometimes your business is just not as attractive. So I think the most important thing you need to do at the very beginning is that you need to have this vision talk with every single job candidate. You want to make sure that the people you're accepting understand the vision. They know their goals and they know how to get there. So that's the start. And then once they're on board, I think you need to develop a little bit more like a partnership relationship or even family relationship with your employees, because that's the way to retain them. So there's a lot of nuances you have to pay attention, and you have to manage right to make sure that these people stay with you. And simply, I mean, as a startup, you probably can't directly hire top talents. The only way you can do it is you develop talents. But you hope all of your people, all of your hires can develop into top talents. Some of them will do that, some won't. But when somebody don't do that, at a certain point, you have to let them go. So there's a whole different side of strategies as far as the staffing for startups.
Got it. Earlier, I referred to you not only as a parallel entrepreneur, but as someone who was a strong advocate for startups. And you are one of the founders or co-founders of the Long Beach Accelerator. And this has been an entity based in Long Beach, a very innovative entity, partnership between private sector and public, that has helped spur many companies that have helped drive economic development across the region. Based on that experience, I'd love to get your thoughts about what are the ways in which we can best develop an innovative ecosystem and how you've contributed to that and what your thoughts are around that.
Well, this is an interesting topic. I love grassroots entrepreneurs. I love to support startups. And, over the years, I've been thinking about, what I could possibly do to best support them. There are different ways, but I figured out that, the higher education organizations are probably where you can start your work, because these organizations, such as UCI, teach entrepreneurship. They tell people what to start, to make their businesses. However, they do need a lot of support from private sectors like my company. So this is why, when I sat down with Cal State Long Beach, and certainly the city of Long Beach, we reached agreement to build an accelerator, because that would be a great program to bring our capital resources to support the startups. And many startups are coming from the university system. It's the same thing happening here in Irvine. So this is why we're interested in maybe building another accelerator with UCI.
Sounds great. Well, John, it's fantastic to see what you've been able to do personally in your companies, and very amazing to see how you've been able to create so many enterprises. But it's equally amazing to see how you've been able to impact the broader innovation ecosystem and help other entrepreneurs be successful with their ventures. So thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very much for all that you've done for the community, and we look forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you, my pleasure.